All right, I think the title is something pretty disparaging. In fact, I'm pretty sure I have the title already written up here. I came up with it in about 25 seconds in a shower yesterday when I realized I was going to watch this movie. Did not know this movie was coming out this quickly, although I did see the preview as recent was, I think, like in the Superman screening, I think it was on. Might have been the Superman screening. Anyway, Ari Aster. So it's self-indulgent, but I don't mean it to be. Essentially, what Ari is for me is something well documented on this channel. My channel trailer for about a year plus was my thoughts on Beau is Afraid, which I thought was probably some of my best commentating on really anything I've ever engaged with ever. I have an anxiety-riddled mess this year, so I don't have the same fastball that I did during the really just any movie review I did previous to this year, but especially Beau is Afraid. I'm very proud of that review. I'll try to link it somewhere here if I can do it in post edit. And in that, or really post upload, not post edit, but in that, I realized that Ari has really escaped criticism, and it's a good spot to be in if you're a young director. It's also a terrible spot to be in, because when you're almost given like a near prodigy label, which I think he's, by consensus, pretty close to that, it really makes you start feeling yourself. And I thought Beau is Afraid, regardless of my thoughts on how just self-sucking, as like if you're going on fucking S videos and looking up the tag self-sucking, you're looking for just somebody going ribs gone, just deep throat in their own shit. That's really what I thought that movie was. And when you get to that point, that level of self-indulgence, I think you can really be in a bad spot. And I was worried that Ari would almost correct course with this movie. Like he would figure it out and realize, like, exploring my own fucking mind again and again, my own deep recesses, we may get into some bad territory. And I'm proud to tell you guys that not there yet. Ari has not learned that lesson quite yet. But it is not, I will say, it is not nearly as Ari as I don't know how else to put it. It's not nearly, you can't smell this fucker breathe on your neck the way you could with that movie. That movie was when you lie to your therapist about the really bad shit in your mind. You give her like the, okay, well, this is stuff that I could, hope to maybe get worked out, the B-level shit. But the really bad shit that really is why you're a fucked up person, you're like, I can't even tell that my therapist that. That's what that movie was. This is him letting out the surface level shit, which probably should have preceded Beau is Afraid, but 2023, you really couldn't make a COVID movie for a few years. Don't Look Up is the immediate analog, I think, for a lot of people. Kind of watching the trailer for this movie and realizing it was going to be a COVID movie. But it is so much willing to just get in the mud about what happened during that period of time. And for the first half of this movie, that really is all it is just a speed running through both the traumas and the laughable parts of 2020 and 2021. At least mandate done everywhere 2021, so early 2021. But really, that summer 2020 is, I think, about where this kind of cuts off in terms of what it's just trying to retell for the viewer. And I'll be honest with you, I have a legitimate boner for COVID content. It may not be something most people share. In fact, it is not, because that's the reason why studios and filmmakers would not make those COVID movies. Fucking tongues got caught on my jaw. And maybe they were right to do so, because after watching this movie, I think that COVID, nobody has separated their trauma from COVID and is able to make that movie without really just giving it to somebody. Ari, to his credit, Ari gives it to both sides. And I think that's going to be the reason this movie sinks on Letterboxd. Currently it's a 3.3 rating. More than anything. I literally saw one person's review that was like a wall of text that was seemingly bad. She didn't put a rating on it, which really means if you don't get a rating for a Letterboxd review and there's a wall of text, either it's like the worst film you've ever watched, or it is like the best film you ever watched. It's one or the other. In that example, before I could tell, just skimming through it on the way out from the theater, it was one of the worst she's ever watched. But this person, I think, is more of the justice-y warrior that is really just derided and, you know, just given the over-the-barrel treatment in this movie, which I think is a positive. I am somebody who I think leans closer to liberal than like current left-wing, you know, voter. But I think that to say that the average Caucasian left-leaning person that is under the age of about 23 was performative, denigrative, and almost repulsive. Actually just repulsive, not almost. In that period of time, to say like those are the traits would be like underselling what occurred. If you ever seen that Bill Burr kind of bit, I think it was on SNL, kind of about like white women carrying themselves up to kind of the top of the mantle. That was white women and white men, mainly white women, but that period of time, and I won't like have anybody like delude themselves or try to delude me into how that worked. Like, do I believe there's actually white people that legitimately wanted the best for minorities in that period of time? Yes. Do I think some of that might have even been the inspiration behind white people being performative if they were at that point in time? To some degree, yes. But really, I mean, it was just cascading in the sense of what happens, I believe, around... I lost track of time. This movie is long as fuck. I mean, Ari he does a great job making movies that are long as fuck feel like even longer as fuck. Like, we're talking like big dick, you know, 10-inch movie length. I don't know why to get into this as my metaphor, but this motherfucker went from that to like Lexington Steel with some of the movies he makes. I mean, I'm looking at the time like, holy, 3 hours, huh? It really wasn't 3 hours, but it felt like it. And I'm just looking around, I'm like, the positives, I fucking laughed my ass off for most of the movie, but it's because I like insulting both sides of the aisle in that period of time, because you had some of the wildest and most incomprehensible human behavior, considering the stakes of the world at that point in time, that we've probably ever had, you know? I mean, I know they had the Spanish flu, like, you know, newspaper clippings, and they were doing some pretty crazy shit back then, but we're supposed to have the knowledge of what you shouldn't be doing in a pandemic, so I think I always accelerated that. I'm not gonna make this like a COVID rendition, but yeah, I really like that, you know, he just really gave it to like how fucking loony people that were on the right side, the right-wing side, were at that point in time. But I think he does a great job of not making that overbearing at any point. It happens, and then the social shit. I'd say it's hard because we have the context of what we actually endured at that point in time. There were so many jokes depending on your side of the aisle on one and the other. So there's going to be somebody that says he didn't give it to left-wing people enough in this movie. Even though, like, I will say, I don't think anybody really makes those jokes. For the most part, I mean, Hollywood's a pretty, or at least the directors of Hollywood that really get big budget movies are well educated, and generally speaking, while it may not be like full on like liberal, they typically steer like center or center left, U.S. center left. So they're not really like making those liberal jokes earnestly like that. They do get made, but usually not by people of this stature. The right-wing jokes, obviously people make those. I mean, those are easy. Any right-wing people, like, this far in the review, I hope you understand, like, there is a reason those jokes get made about you guys publicly, like, in the media more. It is not because there's some gain to be had with, like, appearing more liberal. That has washed away many, many years ago. You can tell with some of the coverage of Trump and stuff like that. It's made because it's simply easy to do, for the most part. Like, that's most of the reason why it gets made. It's easy to make fun of Tucker Carlson or hydrochloroquine. Still can't pronounce that. People who take that shit. You know, conspiracy nuts with their fucking like 90s website design. Like, that stuff is easy to make fun. Anybody can make fun of that. If you guys didn't believe in that, you can make fun of that. Like, it's very simple. It used to get made fun of all the time before we really had political division the way we do. Like, both sides make fun of it, you know. And I would say right-wing people can make fun of left-wing people. Like, it's stuff that I've seen that some of them are funny, but usually they're not, because you kind of have to, like, you kind of have to reach the education level of the person making fun of to really get a good joke off of. And if you're just like, I think that person is an F or a slur, or if you think that person is a sissy boy or in the cuck chair, I mean, I'm not saying you can't make jokes that involve slurs. Like, one of my favorite comedians is Patrice O'Neal. He says the F word every other joke, and I'm perfectly fine with that in the context of comedy. But the joke has to reach like a certain intellectual level. Patrice is a genius. The guy on 4chan just calling people like, you know, soy boys or whatever, you know, with some shitty meme that he made in 5 minutes. Like, it's not reaching a very high level intellectualism. And at least maybe that's just me. Maybe I appreciate more intellectual humor. I sound like I'm now blowing myself off like Ari, I guess, at this point. And that's one thing I will say. This movie will make you think of yourself with the whole movie, really. The whole movie, but especially that first half, will make you kind of impart your own values many, many times. Because there's going to be shit that you just will not find funny if you're on one side of the aisle. I don't think that you will find, I think in the beginning parts, the mother is kind of red-pilled, and then she passes off kind of her daughter. I think one of the two are red pills to kind of get passed on to the other. Very QAnon. And in that, I don't think that shit would be funny to somebody who was doing that back in 2020. Like, I don't think they would find that funny at all. They would probably feel kind of hurt. And I think that, in part, I just read like the preview from The Ringer about their review of this movie. And they kind of liken this into this. It's a mirror. What you are as a person, what you were as a person back at that point in time, kind of get reflected in this movie. So you're not going to like some of this if you are really staunchly one or the other. And if you were at SJW in 2020, you're not going to like I don't know what to call them as far as the audience, but there's a crowd in this movie that is like all of the performative white people from that period of time. Like, it's literally all of them. And then there's one guy that encapsulates like the true, I think there's two characters from this, well, really three. There's three, maybe three. There's 2 or 3 characters from this camp that really show kind of the stereotypes of performative white people. One is the grifter. Another is the minority that's kind of like the token, in a sense. He's kind of like eating because he's a token, and he's like choosing to take advantage of that. And then 3 is the chick, and that's all. She's a white chick, and that's, if you think of a white chick as performative in 2020, you can really understand what I'm talking about. And all of them are in a privilege, or a position of privilege, I guess. So you just take that how you, I won't really spoil anything there, but that's just use your imagination for what those 3 archetypes are, and you can probably figure it out. This really isn't a true movie review. I'm just kind of like going over what my biggest thoughts were. I did list all the things that I feel like Ari touches on, because I don't think that this is a hard movie to grasp in like the medium test. Ari does give you typically 3 levels, I will say. Surface level, usually not even that easy. I'd say what makes him work to a lot of people as like an artiste, an auteur, is his surface level usually is harder to grasp than a lot of directors. And in this movie, I think it's probably the easiest since Hereditary. Probably. I think Hereditary is a fairly simple movie to grasp on the surface level. I think this is too. And maybe the last, there's a stretch for about 40 minutes towards the end that I think could trip up some people. It's a very jarring switch from like meta commentary to like we got to close this up to get to, you know, kind of a satisfying conclusion, you know. So I think the last 30, 40 minutes might like get a lot of people. It kind of got me. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not some super intellectual being that can like look into a director's mind. Like, I'll admit when I got I think the last 30 minutes or so maybe lost me for a bit. But I think I got the ending, so I think that he tied that in pretty well. But the meta commentary part, I'm gonna try to get, I don't think I got everything down, but it's 31 points, so I feel like I did a good enough job. Yeah, these just things are being parodied, things are being, you know, kind of commented on. You know, keep in mind this is 2020, 2021, although some of this is relevant to today. He didn't really go too deep into today's problems, like basically second Trump term, or end of Biden term problems, but he did a little bit. So Laura Loomer, I think that's who Paula was, I believe, or she's supposed to be parroting. 2020 TikTok, pretty overt, I feel like. Although he does touch on more modern TikTok as well, which I won't spoil. Hillary Clinton, I don't remember who, I think I may remember who that's supposed to be. Trump, pretty obvious. I'm trying not to link this. I'm going to say this, and I'm not going to say what it represents in the context of the movie, because I think that will allow you to still kind of, you know, kind of paint things together yourself. I will say there's a lot of bad women at the movie theaters, man. Movies are back right now. I don't know what we look like past July, but movies are back right now. I'm going to another one next week. I think we all know what that's going to be. COVID distancing, 6 feet. Yeah, I said this before, it kind of got overt, but you could tell it's COVID and distancing, all that shit pretty early. Conspiracies, kind of went to that already. Social media, mid-combo usage. So basically, like, instead of talking using words, like using social media in a way almost like kind of bridges context in the conversation. Like, this is something I think is just more relevant or more recent. Not more recent. It's just something that's really, I think, since 2017 or so, where we kind of really, as a society, got really, like, almost embedded into social media in a way. Where it became less of a tool and more like a part of life. That year may differ for some people, but I would say probably around 2016, 2017 or so. That's kind of what I mean when I say social media mid-convo usage. Like, there's literally a conversation where a lot of development that could be had, or a potential, basically going shooting for brownie points. That shit happens using social media mid-convo multiple times in this movie. White kid defense. I think I meant white guilt at this point. I have white guilt put elsewhere in here, though. I don't know what I meant by that. The white kid defense. This is what happens. You're just like, you're trying to get on your phone, trying to also like have everything compiled. California Newsom, that's pretty overt. State mandates being belittled. So this really, I would say a part of this movie was somebody who I grew up I am still in a red state. Some of this movie is lost on me, or some of it is, I understand it not from a relatable point of view, but just from like being, you know, using the internet so much, which I think that's kind of a saving grace for Ari in this movie, is that like regionalism is like kind of dead, and we're all kind of like experiencing each other's region together collectively all the time. That really like does a really important job of helping understand like this is supposed to be like parodying California in a sense, where you have like a very blue, large macro state, but this specific city is like clearly supposed to be like red, but like not. It's like this divided red, where it's like the poor red, and then it's like the kind of rich people red, because rich people red usually produces like very liberal kids. So it's like two different like Republican kind of demographics that get computed in here. And I'm used to that because I had used the internet in 2020. But if you didn't live in California, and I imagine you didn't live in a very preppy like red pocket of California, this movie would probably get lost on you. So regionalism being dead, doesn't necessarily hurt this movie, but you do need to kind of know that context to appreciate the state mandate kind of conflict with the sheriff and with the mayor trying to kind of enforce some things. Pseudo morality around not conforming. So that's kind of something that it comes and goes. It is a major reason why the sheriff, kind of can make the pitch he makes. Is that like at that point in time, a lot of Republicans, or let's just say people who are anti-mask, anti-COVID, whatever, because necessarily we're not all Republicans. Like some of those people were like left voting people. They just did not think they should have their freedoms, quote unquote, impinged on. That demographic, because they were so vilified by general, like, widespread media, pretty much social media was literally engineered to, like, promote COVID safety for, at least a year or so. And in left states, that was, it was his movie, really. Like, the media, kind of the message this movie promotes, like, the first hour or so, really the first 30 minutes. From what I could tell, looking at left states, because I was kind of envied them, honestly, living in a red state, they didn't give a fuck about COVID. That was what was happening. So, in that, they really, that counterculture really made it a thing to make themselves seem holier than thou, which makes sense. The other side said they were holier than thou, at least the extreme parts of both sides. I really don't think there was many people who were in the middle when it came to, like, how they felt they were being, characterized by general media when it came to COVID. Like, I don't think people were like, yeah, I feel like I'm just being treated like a normal person by CNN or Facebook or whoever when I say, like, I don't think I should have to wear a mask. Like, that was not a in the middle statement. That was you are a fucking demon that is crucifying everybody else around you with your decision, Because I think people should remember that. I think people would remember that. I put Laura Loomer twice. I don't know why. Doom scrolling, very obvious in most parts in this movie. Being red-pilled ends up happening to a significant character in this movie. She does get red-pilled. I think that red pill is the one you become, like, very QAnon-y. I think that's what red pill is. Maybe blue pill, but whatever. Because red pill the Matrix, which I just learned at trivia a week ago now. Red pill, which I thought was a bad one, like I want the sweet, blissful innocence one, that's actually blue pill. Red pill is like, I want the truth and all that shit, which I probably should have guessed that in trivia. I guess blue pilled, but red pilled is the one that happens to the person in this movie. Or they want the truth, Bitcoin was very prevalent. This is when I say it's more 2021. Bitcoin cratered around March 2020 when everything else did, stocks and all that. It did kind of trade evenly. I'm saying this as somebody who's, like, in crypto during a period of time. It did explode as we kind of got more into 2021. I think people remember, like, the Elon Doge thing that kind of marked the end of that, more or less. NFTs, things like that, which they didn't, I think even Ari was like, there's a limit. They didn't get into NFTs, which were obviously a big part of crypto at that point in time, but did kind of layer in some crypto, which I thought was interesting. Global warming is, like, kind of mentioned slightly. Democrat hypocrisy, that kind of happens with some of the backdoor shady shit that happens with a certain character and a corporation. So I'm not gonna go too much deeper into that. I'm hoping that I'm focused enough to, like, not spoil, because my stream of conscience kind of kicks in sometimes. I'm like, I don't want to spoil anything, but Democrat hypocrisy, fucking cunt, hypocrisy happens at points in this time. And it's the movie. The lingo, he uses some kind of relevant lingo at that period of time, but he does not do it often. It's probably less than 5 times. No justice, no peace. That I will say, like, kind of the spin he put on that towards the end. It's not really a spin. It's just, like, the way he used it, I guess, that phrase. But Antifa, I think I should also say Antifa after following that previous point. I put white guilt White Guilt is featured. I thought it was funny. Nobody else laughed at White Guilt in my theater. I thought White Guilt was hilarious. I thought he did a really good job of depicting White Guilt. Almost, I mean, it's probably like two handfuls of White Guilt, like overt White Guilt moments that are in your face, usually from the same characters as well. And maybe two of those, let's say it's 12 moments. Maybe two of those 12 got laughs from anybody else. I had a theater that had about 9 to 10 people. So, I mean, not packed by any means. And most of them, I think there was one Asian guy. I think everybody else is white. And there's me. So, I got to have my laughs. Nobody else got to have their laughs. So, Epstein Hollywood commentary. I thought this was one of the more interesting, like, meta parts of this movie. I know I'm using meta probably more and probably incorrectly, and I probably should be using it. But I thought it was really interesting what happens in that part of the movie. It's a conversation between a guy and the main character and some other people related to the main character. And there's a really impassioned, like, I won't say that character doesn't have another impassioned moment like this again. He does, but it's not the same, like, there's something this movie's trying to say that it intentionally cuts off. Like, it intentionally just segues away from it. And it doesn't really get touched on in the same way again. Obviously, I say Epstein, kind of pedophilia, but pedophilia is used again in this movie in a few times, but it's not in this way. Like, when I say Epstein and I put / Hollywood commentary, I think it could have been the most useful thing Ari has in this movie. I think my light just blew out. Yeah, I think it just blew out. I guess. I mean, yeah, I think it just blew out. Okay, well, we are doing this without lights. So yeah, my lights just blew out. We got like 10 points left. The cops and the Klan go hand in hand. I thought that was just a really funny. I wish I didn't put that because I don't know. COVID getting washed by George Floyd. Yeah, so there's like an actual, like, pretty loud conversation that happens between many people. And the guy that's supposed to represent, like, multiple things, but also kind of represents COVID in a way, just gets kind of pushed to the side by the George Floyd stuff, which did happen for about a month to 2 months in the summer of 2020. Social justice kind of came into the forefront, and COVID kind of just took a step back. It was still there, as this guy who represents COVID is still there in this general conversation, but kind of gets pushed aside. And do I do a larger thing about the homeless guy here? Throwing Nazi around, that's kind of more recent, but just throwing Nazi around to people you don't like, that's obvious. White people telling minorities how to engage with race. I kind of mentioned that earlier, but there's a few more subtle moments, but a very loud one where, like, a white person tells a black person what they should be doing to properly, I don't have the good word for this, but protest. Let's just say that. We'll just say protest. Joaquin let's come back to that one later, actually. I want to end with that one. Thank the Homeless Guys was a parody of how Cali treats homeless. I think that's one thing. Like, this homeless guy represents COVID, represents mental health struggles with homeless people, kind of almost being like a laughing stock in a sense. I think he parodies how the cops don't help homeless people and actually get rid of them. I think he parodies how people that are lesser than kind of just get pushed to the side and nobody ever thinks about them, because there's it's a pretty major spoiler, but it does matter from what I'm trying to say. Something that happens with the homeless guy that also happens with somebody else in the movie, and those two things are treated very, very differently. Very, very differently. Although I guess, depending on how you view it, it really couldn't be treated the same way, I suppose. But the homeless guy represents a lot. Like, I will say that there's a lot more to this homeless person here than just like he's just belaboring, he's just basically like knowing everybody else. Like, he's more than that, immunocompromised people being bodied by COVID. Now, this one is kind of loud, but I think there was a little bit of subtext, or not subtext, but just a little bit of a deeper meaning here. Which, I know that is subtext, but like, there's something that happens to the immunocompromised person that gets COVID that does not happen because of COVID, but I think that is supposed to display something that could happen because of COVID. I think that's my take. I could be completely wrong with that one, but I'm gonna definitely just label spoilers because I think at this point I've spoiled quite a bit. The pivot I think I'm referring to here would be in the last 25 minutes or so. That's what. The grifting. Yeah. And I think it does parody Biden and Kamala at the very end. So that's that. I don't think I went to too many actual spoilers. There's a plot with this movie, which, sometimes I just wonder, with some of these guys. But there's a plot with this movie. It is a followable plot. And should be a pretty easy straight line plot to get to. Now, how the journey to get between A and B, it does vary a bit, but it is a lot straighter than a lot of movies this motherfuckers made. So, that's Ari Aster. I guess to close, I came to this movie ready to hate it, to despise it, honestly. And I do not. I do not despise this movie. I don't think it's a good movie. Well, I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. And I gave that because this movie ultimately, is not one I would probably ever rewatch. In no capacity I would rewatch this movie. Because the movie dates itself with a commentary on a time that we simply all lived through and we all engaged with it at a very high level. So those jokes will not hit for me again a second time around. I'll just be honest with you. And once you remove that, once you remove the jokes about COVID, once you remove the in-your-face kind of wrist, what's the phrase? Slap on the wrist that he gives to both sides of the aisle. Once you get past that, well, I think it's lighthearted. Once you get past him ranging between slaps on the wrist and just kind of putting them over the barrel, both sides of the aisle, I think that the movie doesn't offer really much else. And I saw somebody say, the same person that did the Wall test, what does this movie actually say? Does it give an opinion on any of this stuff? No, I'll probably, in doing this for 30 minutes and, just basically come out of the movie right now. Do I think it says anything about any of that stuff? Not really. It just critiques and laughs at a lot of different things, which some people may feel it's not, worth $25 and 3 hours of their time, to just have somebody, joke about COVID and 2020 at large. I think that ranges from the person. I think that's worth seeing for me, but would I see it again? No, absolutely not. Cinematography, positive aspect of the movie, I think it is. I think with not hating what I was watching, I was able to appreciate the commentary, the kind of camera work a little bit better. There's a couple shots that are really, solid. Now, in saying that, I think that Midsommar would be a much more impressive movie in that way. And I think Hereditary probably would be too. So take that for what it is. And I don't like Midsommar, so that means something for me to say that. What else? Plot. I think the plot's engaging enough. You do need to have, if it's going to be somebody that's this controversial director, this polarizing a director, I do think you need something to kind of lean on. I think that with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I kind of, in the last 20 minutes of this movie I kind of thought of for a brief moment. That movie doesn't have a plot, but the rest of it is so engaging that it doesn't really matter, you know? This movie, I think, does need a plot, and it does have one. I think works well enough to kind of get you, past some of the spots you may not agree with, but the value of the movie is not in the plot, but it does have one. I don't think I had anything else to do. The cast, I mean, it's an ensemble adjacent cast. I mean, it's a pretty good casting. Austin Butler was apparently in this movie. I did not know that. I don't know where he was at in this movie, but I think I can guess, but, it's a lot of big names in this movie. And some of them really don't, I wouldn't say it's an ensemble cast, but some of them really just are there in name, more than, really felt in spirit. So Pedro Pascal wound it down a little bit? I think so. It's kind of really pumping out here. I mean, he's been pumping them out for a while, but I don't know. I kind of hope that this is like the last year for like the major Pedro Pascal like kind of wave that we've kind of had for a few years now. This fucker's doing like two of the biggest movie of the week 2 weeks in a row in the middle of July. Like that's a lot. All right, that's a lot. And I think there's some other movies this year has been pretty big names. So I think let's just wind it back a little bit. Even The Last of Us, which was like last month. So let's cut it back a little bit. Let's just a little bit less Pedro Pascal. Anyway, that's about it. Like I said, 2.5 out of 5. I thought it was a very funny movie. I thought it did some really good commentary. I thought some shots were good, which you're probably hearing this thing like, wait, what? I just think that like this movie has like no I don't know. Does it have depth to it? I think really the question you ask yourself, like when you watch this movie, and I think you should watch the movie. I really think you should. I think you should watch all of his movies, but like just be prepared to really have some feelings along with them. But that's what I would say. Like, do you think this movie has depth when you come out of it? I don't know if it said anything at all, which is not always the best like way to get out of a social commentary movie that's 3 hours long. Like it's not always the best conclusion to reach, but that might be the conclusion I have of this movie. Anyway, that's it. Ari Aster, peace.